Good morning, everybody. We didn't use PubSub. I'll run through a bit of a background of what we did and where we got to. So we took a different route here. We decided that we talked to customers and see what they wanted in a solution, and then build it there. And we started looking at this a couple of years back, and the PubSub spec is quite complicated. Microblogging spec isn't really ready. And we're a user of ejabberd, and we license gateways from Process One for the various IM networks. So yeah, we use their Twitter gateway. But Cleartext started in 2005, and our real expertise is in email, managed email security, filtering platforms. So when we look at XMPP and messaging, we've got a slightly different slant. We don't look at solutions in the end user social space like Twitter or Facebook. We're thinking about it from the point of view of what the business requirements are for someone like our typical client is an accounting firm or a legal firm or a technology firm. So they tend to want things that align with our email platform, which is high uptime, content filtering, archiving, e-discovery, so all those security and compliance things. So we have a slightly different requirement. But as a self-funded business, over the last couple of years, we've been building an XMPP platform, which has been sort of based around the hosted email and managed email security business. So it's a fairly standard XMPP platform. So we see the world of social technologies as, this is our view of things. So we categorize things in three distinct spaces. They're public, private, and enterprise. So if you look at web, the obvious one there is Facebook. Private is you might call a product like Mazinga, which enables corporates to sign up for a Facebook service, which is just on their own domain. And then enterprise, sort of an enterprise version of that might be the Jive SBS, or what used to be called Clearspace platform, which is a hosted or on-premise cross between SharePoint, Facebook, and Twitter for the enterprise. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. So we did a lot of work with companies like Australia Post, New Zealand Telecom on deploying those sorts of platforms. If you look in the microblogging space, the obvious one is Twitter. Private, there's Yammer, so it's a Twitter clone, but for the enterprise. But Yammer's idea of security is really limited to SSL and a few administration features. So we put ourselves in the enterprise space there because the messaging is obviously an important part of the platform. It's the communications, it's what people have got the platform for. But when a business goes to the CIO to ask for funding for a new piece of technology, the CIO will push that requirement down through legal, HR, IT security as well. So those enterprise boxes have to be ticked. So when you look at, when we looked at microblogging, we thought, well, what are the main features? So you have to look at Twitter, what Jive have been doing, what Yammer have been doing. So these are the obvious things which we all talk about. And a lot of them align with XMPP quite well, which is why a lot of people are talking about XMPP and microblogging. So the top ones are the obvious ones, the bottom ones are the things that, so that's the Cleartext sort of R&D space is in this space here. And the desktop. So when you look at federated microblogging, there are some interesting problems to solve. So is that Rome? Yeah. Problems to solve. I mean, the obvious one is routing the messages. And of course, XMPP. That's easy. The difficult ones are the access control. So when you talk to a prospective client about having microblogging for the enterprise, it's a no-brainer if it's an internal solution because everybody's sharing the same data. You've got the same model as Twitter, but in a silo in your own domain. But if you start talking about federating, so if you say to customer A, should we federate your server with customer B, and they're not a business partner, and then somebody from customer A follows somebody from customer B, how do you control what data they see? So it becomes an access control and a data control problem. How do you, if you're working for Ford Motor Company, do you want someone from Toyota following you? How does that work across the network? It might be easy within XMPP to design a pub/sub model whereby a request comes in. Do you want this person to follow you? But then you might want some parameters around that. So in the email world, we do this by classifying messages. So if you're selling an email platform into a government department, there will be a classification module where a message will be classified as a sort of public, secret, top secret, whatever, which does go some way to securing data within the business. So these are some of the problems that we thought were more interesting when you talk about XMPP. One of the things that I think is quite interesting is ISO's work on Z258, which is security labels in XMPP. I think that really should be part of any federated microblogging spec. You really need to get security labels into the data stream as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll fall over when you try and federate your server, because you'll get the same questions through legal and IT security about who's seeing this company data. Some of the other things I got there, like how would a web interface work across domains? I mean, Michael and Christoph are talking about a pub/sub client. We've got a regular messaging client. So these are components. This is software on the desktop or mobile. How does a federated web interface work across businesses? That's quite a question. Again, obviously it works for something like Facebook because you've got a silo, it's public. But if you've got a federated microblogging server behind the firewall or as a SaaS offering, company A, does company B get a view on that? And how do you control who sees what? So some of those conversational threads suddenly, it's quite difficult. And the same with search and track. If you're using Twitter and you set up search and hashtags and that sort of thing, it's quite good. You can see who's talking about Formula One on the weekend or who's talking about SeaBeyond today. But how does search and track work across domains? So these are some of the things which, when we sat down and thought, well, do we follow a microblogging spec? Do we do pub/sub? How do we do it? It was quite an interesting conversation. So this is a bit of a repeat, really, but this is just to sort of recap. The top three are the sort of things that when we spoke to our customers, we have about 150, 160 customers, mainly on email platforms, and this is where we did our research. We went out and spoke to them and found, what do you want in instant messaging? What do you want in microblogging? So these are the obvious things that they spoke about. So again, because we license certain components in Process One, and we're a small business, thought, well, what should we concentrate on? Okay, so Process One are doing gateways to Twitter, gateways to different instant messaging networks, ejabberd, of course, and doing mobile development. So we thought, okay, well, we're filling the gaps with some of our own R&D, which was the microblogging server, and use Process One's third-party apps. So again, talking to customers, we didn't find a pressing need for federation. So when there wasn't really there weren't many customers who said, it'd be great if one of my competitors can follow my R&D team. It just didn't happen. So they were happy to use email, federated email, and instant messaging. Those parts were an easy sell, but the microblogging component was a difficult sell if you were trying to solve some of the security and data security issues. So I'll jump straight on now to the Cleartext server. So what's the... actually, I'll go back one. Oh, well, that's it, yeah. So where did we start? So, we all read the definitive guide, and that was the sort of kicking off point. And we looked at what's the lowest common denominator in the XMPP sort of spec list, and it is messaging. So if you use the Process One Twitter gateway, it's driven by text-based commands, which you would type into PSI or Adium or whatever chat client you're using. And about this time we realised that not only was there a standardized and readily available XMPP microblogging server, so we'd have to build one. There was also a lack of good enterprise clients on the desktop, forgetting people like Cisco's client and some of the other products out there. So we'd build a desktop client as well. So that really gave us a lot more control in a similar way that the guys at Process One have got for Text One. You know, if you're operating the server and the client end, you can do a lot more. So we came up with a hybrid which works in a similar way to the Process One Twitter gateway, but is in fact a Python component. So we use ejabberd as our base platform, and then the component talks to the same database with a slightly modified schema. So the relationship between who's following who and the search and all that sort of stuff is in an extended ejabberd schema. So if you're an ejabberd user, it's quite an easy thing to deploy. As I said, not federated, and the announcement that Microsoft going to make is that we're open sourcing it. So we've got the code ready to open source now. We're just finishing off some documentation, which is around how to do an install and documenting some of the custom stanzas that we've got in the platform. So text-based commands. So if you're using regular Jabber program, you just type in F and the username to follow, and that will be the username on your own server. So you don't need to type in the full JID, with the domain part, just the username. You can send direct messages in our platform. If you do if you start a direct message session over the microblogging server, it just rolls back to normal chat. So it's just a normal chat session. And then you can set up searches on the platform as well. So in the same way that you can set up searches on Twitter to follow certain topics, you can do the same on our platform. But obviously, it's a lot quicker because it's all XMPP routing. So you get quite impressive speed. The classic one is cheese in the kitchen. Milliseconds later, everybody around the world knows there's cheese in the kitchen. So that works quite well. So here's just an example of a custom stanza, which you won't be surprised to see is just a normal XMPP message. Just the body of the message has help in it. We put some extra information in here because there's certain things that we want to do in the client, which I'll show you later on. And in fact, in the new release of the server, a lot of that, this stanza here is in fact a lot smaller because obviously the server knows a lot of this information anyway, so there's no point in the client poking it around. So that command to the server, just a straightforward help, sends you the command list. So to do a follow in the GUI, in the application, you click on the follow icon, but in fact all the app is doing is sending out a text-based command. Same with tweeting. If you just send some text to the server, it says, there's no text-based command at the front of that must be a tweet. I'll send that out, and then the server at the back end, looks at the schema, says this person's got these people following them, relays the message on. So that's really, really simple. Incoming tweet, same thing. It just comes in as a message. So this is just a snapshot of our interface. So we have the idea of, it's a tabbed interface. This is the Cleartext microblogging server, and you might have different tabs for different things open, like group chat, or you might have your connection to Yabber or Identica or Jq or any of the other platforms out there. And then we have an idea of a work stream which has everything in it with an icon per service. But the way the app is written is that we have a base sort of microblogging object, and it's just subclassed for each type of network, so that it's right, nice and easy for the guys working on the software to get a consistent behavior through the application, irrespective of what network they're on. And then over here we have on the app we have a real-time filter. So as well as setting up searches on the server within each type of network, or using a bot that you've written to connect to any third-party data source, all that will get pumped in here, and then you can just filter in real time. So we get, the good thing about using XMPP, which we all know, is that users can have their own bots, And if the bots are just sending regular messages, it's really easy for people to write code for that. As I said before, direct messages just become regular IM sessions. You can use a profile, or you can extend the profile. And then on our platform, at least, we look at it as a funnel. There's a standard XMPP data stream comes in the top, different gateways or bots to convert other data sources into the stream. So everything's normalized to XML, which means it's really nice and easy to do things like archiving, image scanning. So we have like text-based content scanning. You can set up rules like you can in postfix on email, to scan for certain types of content. We have URL scanning, so we have relationships with antivirus companies where we scan URLs coming through the platform to see whether they point to malware or phishing sites. We have an image scanning technology which will look at a URL coming in, see if it points to a message, see if it points to a graphic, and we'll scan the graphic. So you put a threshold, so that will stop links to inappropriate images coming into the organisation. So again, these go back to the focus of Cleartext, which is on the security and compliance angle, and mirroring our email security platform. And as I said, writing bots, CRMs can tweet, so this is the well-known PHP XMPP library. That's all we needed to plug into our CRM to get the CRM to tweet. And it gets quite interesting in a larger organisation. So one customer we worked with in Australia was ABC, the TV network, and they're a very big Yammer user. But they went back to the CIO to get funding for the project, and it fell over because of all the security and compliance issues. So we're running through a pilot at the moment. But the really exciting thing from the ABC's point of view is they love the ability to use their own internal developers to write, quick, dirty little bots to pull in data sources from all over the ABC on different topics and feed it into a work stream which they'd sit in their user room or something. So the summary for us, at the time, PubSub was extra work, lack of client support. We didn't think 277 was ready. Through talking to clients, federation wasn't important at that time. We thought that the federated platform was more about data security and access than it was routing the data. And really the access control problem was non-trivial, and from our experience with many years in email security platforms, we just thought that was an area we really didn't want to get into, and we've been building a lot of custom code around the XMPP platform. So that's it. The project's going to be up on GitHub fairly soon. Quick demo, which really all I can do is the app. Because there's not much to show on the server. Or can we just move that to... So here's the app. It's good old Adobe Air, version 1. And like most people, version 2 won't be Adobe Air. So it's so really the design brief to the graphics guy was give us an interface that looks nice to use, and hopefully isn't overly complicated, something that most people recognise. So top left here, you've got your normal XMPP, status here, your extended status. Because customers might connect into their Active Directory, or they just might have a lot of users, you might want to search. So you've got a sort of real-time search happens here. So you can easily see your buddies, your normal groups. So like most clients, these groups are all transient. The group only appears if you've got people in the group that are online. It's not very clear here, but you can see, how long someone's been available. We split up social, so these are all the social connectors I've got running at the moment. Our Yammer network, Twitter, got an RSS gateway. JQ, believe it or not, is still going. Same for FriendFeed. And then the legacy gateways into the other networks. So from the user's point of view, they can do regular chat. So this is a chat session, or group chat. And the interesting thing for us is that we were a bit nervous when we started pushing this out, that the chat would be top down with the data entry field at the top, not like a regular IM client. But that doesn't seem to have phased anybody. People just using it. Of course, I forgot we can sort these by various different criteria here. So that's last seen, wherever the last activity was. And then we have Cleartext microblogging. If we use, just to give you a really graphic example, with the Process One Twitter gateway, type help. It gives you a command set which you can type in manually. You type help on the Cleartext microblogging server, it gives you the same, very similar idea. And then if you go over to the work stream, I just put something in here. So tweet that. So anybody that's following me in the company will get that. Wonder what the hell's going on. But all of the different networks that we've got set up in our social group get dumped into the work stream here. So that means that you get all your data sources coming down in one stream. If you want to search for something in real time, oops. Can I spell? So, that's everything that's happening in Egypt at the moment. If we put in SeaBeyond. So that's it. We didn't go the PubSub route. The work that Process One's doing on PubSub, we'd like to get involved with that and convert our platform and use the same protocol. But really, we came at it from a different angle. We've been in the email space, doing hosted email for a long time, managed email security for a long time. So we just thought, right, we'll take that particular business model and we'll map it over XMPP network. License a few bits from Process One and build the rest ourselves. And it's given us a platform to go to market really quickly and really easily. That's it.
How many users does it support currently?
Well, our smallest customers are probably 10 users. Believe it or not, we've got customers of just 10, 15 employees that are using the microblogging. So the way we sell our product is the core platform, and then you spend a few more dollars to get the content control, the URL filtering, the microblogging, the gateways, and that's the way we do it. So even small, we've got a company, a freight investment firm in the City of London, and they've got about 25 employees, but spread all over the world, mainly in Southeast Asia. They use the microblogging platform to post real-time price data out of the Baltic Exchange for commodities out of Western Australia. But our largest customer is only around 2,000 employees, so that's and that's the good thing about not working on an end-user large-scale federated platform, like a Facebook type thing, is we don't have to deal with huge numbers of people. I'm quite happy if we've got 30 or 40 customers of around about 500 seats a go, all spending $5 or $6 a month. That's fine, thanks very much. I think there is a tendency in our particular technology space to always be thinking big. We're going to build a big web platform, it's HTTP and it's got to scale to millions because we want to exit in 3 years' time and make a fortune. But there are different business models out there. You can have a smaller number of clients with smaller sizes and just control the business and just pick the technology that works. So that's really the approach we've taken. Question
hosted on premises, or do you host it yourself?
So the question was, is it hosted on premise or ourselves? So I didn't really talk about the architecture, but we've done a hybrid model. So the way it works is we have a small ejabberd cluster. We have a PHP web portal into that, which gives our another part of our business model is that 90% of our customers come through resellers. We do very little direct selling. So our resellers can go into the portal, they can provision a new customer, and then they can provision a new domain, and then the customer can go in and provision end users, set up content control rules and all that sort of thing. And if it's straightforward IM, that's all done on the same sort of MySQL cluster and ejabberd cluster. If they want microblogging, they get the choice. We will run up a small something at Rackspace Cloud. We'll just run something up like a small VPS, depending on the size of them. We'll deploy the Python component on that platform, and then the management portal will deploy the database as well. So for that customer, their ejabberd MySQL database and the Python component sits on that VPS, but it's all still managed out of the management portal. But the side effect of that is that if the customer does want something behind the firewall, we can put that microblogging bot and the database behind the firewall, which ticks the compliance box, even though the messages are being routed through us. The legal guys are happy that the data is actually being stored behind the firewall. So our portal is sort of a hub, so it's sort of hub and spoke arrangement, and the spoke sort of endpoints can be, we can host them or the customer can host them.
And my question was more about how can we help with client, for example, client support. You mentioned that you're using one team on iPhone. Is there a feature you need to improve compliance with your platform or this kind of thing, and maybe for support for other clients?
Yeah, I think for the one of the reasons again we chose the text-based commands is that it does mean you can use another client. So if you look on here, I'm running PSI as well. So So I've just got a normal PSI chat window open, and you can just tweet from here. So, you know, we recommend the one team for iPhone client if people talk about iPhone. So I think if you talk about our own roadmap, then what I'd like to see is Cleartext working with Process One on the PubSub implementation, and then moving that implementation into our client, because I think that's the way to go. Yeah, I don't think the text-based command is an ideal way of doing it, but it worked for us at the time.
Any more questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.